everyone. Today we got to play Rogue Angel. So this is a future Kickstarter coming out. This is a campaign game. But before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing. And that is what we do here at Legends of Nirvana. All right, Robert, can you tell us more about this game?
Well, we don't have, obviously, a release date yet or an MSRP because we're not, even Emil Larsen, the gentleman that contacted us about reviewing this for him, doesn't have that all lined up yet. So, but what we do know is it's coming to Kickstarter eventually. It's part of the same universe that game that I have and that we've got to play and review called Burning Suns. And what was the other one? The other one wasn't part of it because it was a Roman game, right?
Roman game, yeah.
So
that would be very awkward.
That would be
Romans
weird anyway.
Space, yeah.
Actually.
Not any stranger than pigs in space.
Well, yeah.
So,
but yeah, this is obviously not the final version.
Absolutely.
This is a demo
It's
copy.
very much a demo copy of it. So all we can really do is review with what we got and give you our opinions on what we've got to play so far. Because we didn't really get to, we don't have a whole lot of material to play with. So he basically gave us the first two missions to it.
He compared this to playing like a video game of Mass Effect, if you're familiar with that game. It's as far as being a story-driven game.
And I can see that because there's a lot of choices that you have to make.
Yeah.
And it's kind of set up the same way where you would have that pop-up of, line A, B, or C, which one do you want to do? Set up the same way in the book.
And when we played the game, it felt like the intro to a video game where you were learning how to do controls and how to, to attack and how to move. That's all we got to play was that kind of that introductory area. So we definitely don't want to give you a opinion as far as a final product or what the story is because we don't have that. We haven't got to play it.
Yeah, but we could certainly give you an opinion of our initial idea of the first two missions.
Yeah.
Because that's what we got to play. And so basically the game is set up where you have three options you can do. You can either play an action card, or you can pick an action to play, and there's three actions, which is playing a card. You can do something called increase your focus, which the focus allows you to do re-rolls or allows you to do specific things on the cards, potentially. And we didn't see those, but there's a ton of cards that Emil said that will be in the game that will be unlocked as you play the game. And then you can also rest, which gives, which we'll talk about. When you play an action card, it goes into a specific spot. And then when you rest, it decreases it in that slot to where you can then eventually get it back to play it again.
Yeah, so if you'll notice here in the corner, there's strengths here, and based on that strength level, basically it is your timing function. So that is basically your cooldown. So if it has a level 2, it requires a 2 round.
And that's actually what that's called. It's called the cooldown track.
Yeah.
And some of them have X's where you can put them at your choice of how much you want to do, and it, based upon how much damage you're doing or whatever the action is, it'll take longer to cool down.
Yeah, and then the other thing to note as well is that each deck is very individualized for the player.
Yeah, you have some cards that are the same for everyone, and then you have some things that are unique. Like I might have a weapon that Miranda wouldn't have, or she might have a shield ability that I don't have.
Yeah, so depending on what you have, like mine is more of a tank versus yours is more of a attacker. So just kind of keeping that in mind. I kind of like that fact that each individualized deck is a little bit different, so that kind of helps. You'll see growth of actual.
And they actually have asynchronous abilities too, so that's kind of cool as well. Is so that each person has an ability that, and it can be upgraded. And so that's one of the interesting elements of the game is that your board basically has two sides. So you have one side that you start with, and when you complete the mission, then you unlock the other side of the board. And it's got this little colored section down here that allows you to kind of customize your character to be able to do things that you want them to do. So these colors represent the different colors on your cards. And some cards may have an ability for that section. So if you have a token, you can take off of that, then you can activate that ability on top of everything else that a card can do, which is kind of neat. So I kind of like that idea.
For me, it felt this game was almost like a little teaser. Like we didn't really get to the meat of the game. It is a campaign. A lot of the campaign games now are currently kind of fantasy. So this is a space-based one. So I think that's something new and different. I think that will you know, because there's not a lot of space campaign. It's more fantasy driven. So I thought that was interesting. What about your thoughts, Randy?
I felt like in the beginning of it felt like Halo to me, where you've got like the sergeant or the general yelling at you, telling you to do these things, and you are basically getting set up to try to learn how to play the game. And that's all we got to experience was we got to learn to move, we got to open doors, and attack
and interact with objects. Because that's one of the interesting points of the game is like we had to open up or interact and activate these 2 consoles. And the way you had to do that is you had to play a card that allows you to interact with an object. So you do that. Then you draw into a bag and you pull out these tokens. And the idea is you have to get 3 of the same color tokens to be able to activate it. So if you don't draw them out, then you get to be able to keep some for later rounds, but then you failed at that action. You have to wait until you do it again. So I thought that mechanic was kind of interesting. It kind of adds that luck into the game a little bit.
Yeah, and I thought the story itself, what little we got, was very interesting.
I agree.
It made me want to know more about what was going to happen.
Yeah, it felt, like I said, a teaser.
I think that's a great way of putting it, is that it gave us just enough to like, I want to know more.
Well, yeah, I was just like, when we finished the second module, I was like,
right.
And we didn't even get to see the other side of the board where you get all the special abilities and upgrades, and that was I like to modify my board. I like to enhance things, and I can't do that yet because we haven't got that far in the story. So,
and I got the opportunity to kind of demo it with the designer Emil himself on Tabletop Simulator, and he showed me a whole lot more than what you guys got to see because he had a lot of it already developed, just not printed. So this game is going to be huge. He's got a massive campaign book that it was like so big that I think initially he was thinking about it not being part of the base.
Yeah, it was going to be an add-on.
It's going to be an add-on.
But I think he's retaking
as far as the printed version.
Yeah, I don't know if it's included or not now, but he's redesigning for the Kickstarter. He kicked it off and then saw that he made some mistakes as far as setting up the Kickstarter, so he's relaunching.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet what his ETA is on relaunching, but we definitely wanted to get this in before he did.
And I think that's probably one of the things I'm more excited about is just the amount of content he's got planned for this. So if it's as story-driven, as interesting as just his first couple of missions I played, I think it's something like a Mass Effect game I could really sink my teeth into and really dig it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We had an absolute blast getting our little toes wet with this game. So if this looks like something you're interested in, definitely head up to Kickstarter. We will link it as soon as that Kickstarter is up. We'll catch you guys later, okay? Bye.
Bye.
Bye.